Howdy folks, you're watching Deuce, and this is a standard capacity 30 round AR-15 magazine. But with no modifications, it can also be considered a 10 round AR-15 magazine. Magazines are complicated. They can make or break your firearm. And in the corporate world, whenever someone is going to go into a deep discussion or an investigation on a subject matter, it's called going on a deep dive. So today, we're going to be doing a deep dive on AR-15 magazines. I've laid out what you'd call a smattering of AR-15 magazines here, and each one of them is either old or new or designed, different materials, different shapes, sizes, colors, what have you. At the very beginning, you had one choice of magazine, the normal aluminum magazine. And at the time, you had one choice of follower, the black follower here, and it was not very good. Well, it was fine. They work fine. I've been using this sucker forever. Let's see, who was this made by? Center Industries. There's no date on it. Some of them have dates on them now, but no date on this. Has a black follower, which means it's fairly old. But back in the day, you had one style of AR-15 and one style of ammo, the 5.56, either 55 grain or 62 grain, maybe a few other options there, but for the most part, you had one or two different types of weights for the same cartridge, and one aluminum 30 or 20 round magazine. They originally was shipped with 20 round magazines, then they upped it to the 30 round magazine. This magazine would probably be the only one we would need if the AR-15 was not so well designed to be modular, but they are modular. I've got some lowers right here. You have your lower right here, and then you can smack on whatever type of upper that you want. And pretty much whatever caliber you can fit down that mag well, you can shoot through the upper of an AR-15. So all these magazines do different things with different types of ammunition or different situations in general. So let's go over that real quick. Let's just kind of randomly grab them, and I'll talk about what I use them for and when. Starting out, the most common one is the standard 5.56 30 round magazine. This is the standard capacity. This is the most reliable, although the 20 round magazines are also equally as reliable. But the 30 round magazine is the tried and true standard for AR-15s. I enjoy the aluminum style magazines with the newest tan-ish follower. I don't know if that's being picked up, but that's a tan follower. And it is the most anti-tilt for the most part. There's a different iteration every couple of years. Anything later than the green follower. The green follower is probably the last of the not ideal followers. Anything after that, they will be fine. I promise you. And honestly, I don't have any problems with the green followers either. I have had some issues with the black follower right there. I've had a few issues with that. It is the most outdated design for the most part. Then they updated to the green, and then they really flattened it out to a much, much more anti-tilt follower, and these work great. I also have 10 round magazines in my magazine collection. This is a standard 5.56 magazine, but only 10 rounds. And the reason I have a couple of those is for the bench range. I've got a lower here that I can demonstrate with. When you have a 30 round, a standard capacity 30 round magazine, that extra magazine can get in the way of getting a proper sight picture when you have it in a rest or at the bench. So you leave the 30 round magazine in your range bag and you put a 10 round magazine in here, and look how compact that is. That is beautiful. It's always a good idea to have at least one 10 round magazine hanging around, just in case you need to sight something in at the bench range and you can't fit a 30 round magazine into your setup. These standard 5.56 magazines can also be used for 300 blackout. There are people out there who try to sell you 300 blackout specific magazines. You do not need them. This big old mamma jammer out there with a 230 grain lead cast bullet fits great and works great in a standard 5.56 magazine. It's a standard 5.56 case that's been cut down and re-nicked to have that big huge bullet stuffed in it, but it's still a standard 5.56 magazine. And real quick, let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages of polymer PMags versus the aluminum standard mags. Well, I personally like the aluminum mags. They are basically, they're classic. They feel good. They feel good in the hand, which is kind of stupid. But I like them because they will drop free from every single lower I have. Here's a standard aluminum lower. Put a mag in, it drops right out. Boom. If you put a polymer, this is a PMag, a windowless PMag, into a standard aluminum lower, it can drop down. It was a little hesitant there. This little 10-round magazine is also a polymer. It's not a PMag, it's another brand. But back in the exact same aluminum lower, and it does not fall free. It does not drop free at all. Now, it's a 10-round magazine. I don't care. That doesn't bother me at all because I'm using this at the bench only. I'm not doing a 3-gun match with a 10-round magazine. These PMags usually have dust covers that go on here as well. I have been told that these have a dual function to keep the feed lips from spraying out if you have them stored loaded. I have no idea if that's true or not. Now, the white PMag, I have troubles with this. See, it is not, that does not drop free. And that's my aluminum lower. Everything else worked in it, but not this one. The PMags are kind of all over the place on whether or not they will drop free. I don't know why. These are all bought at different times from different stores. So this magazine is super old. I have no idea how old it is, no date on it. The others I have here have dates on them. Let's see, this one is from 2011. Falls free. This one is from 2019. It's a newbie. Also drops free. If you look at the back at the welding marks, there are decades of time between these manufacturing dates, and they still line up perfectly. All the welds are identical, all the folds are identical. Everything is exactly the same except for the name stamped on the plate on the bottom and the type of follower, and that's it. And a last but very important reason why I prefer aluminum mags versus polymer is because if a polymer magazine's worn out or damaged, sometimes it's hard to tell. At first glance, it may be fine, but then you try to use it and it cracks or it breaks, or there's a chip on it that makes it feed badly. Typically, you know immediately if there is a problem with your aluminum magazine because it looks crushed, it looks damaged. The polymer magazine can be cracked and then spring back to appear okay. While I personally find that PMags and aluminum mags wear out at the same speed, I do find that the PMags are more resilient to impact. Aluminum bends and stays bent. PMags will bounce back usually. These standard 30-round magazines can also be considered 10-round magazines. And when is that? Well, that is when you want to use them for a big bore style application, because I have not had an issue with using these standard 30-round magazines to hold 10 458 SOCOMs. Now, a single stack, it turns them into single stack magazines, but you can feed 10 of them in there and they work just fine. Now, the same thing goes for 50 Beowulf right there and 450 Bushmaster. Now, I'm in a free state. I'm in Tennessee, so I never have to worry about magazine restrictions. But if you're in a restricted state that only allows 10-round magazines, is it acceptable to have this size magazine if you have a 458 SOCOM or larger big bore upper for your AR15? I have no idea. Maybe an attorney can comment below. If you want to get really fancy, you can buy or print off in your 3D printer a single stack follower for your big bore application. So you can get a 450 Bushmaster follower that basically has just one big groove in the center of it and then the spring underneath. And it's supposed to center it a little bit better than it is right now. I have never needed it. I don't have one. I've never even bothered printing one off, even though it would cost me pennies to do, because these have been functioning flawlessly anyway. Why would I bother changing it? Now, because of the wide variety of calibers you can buy and use on your AR-15, there are a couple of different types of magazines, and unfortunately the 5.56 Classic magazine does not work for all of them. So I have a collection of other styles of magazines. This magazine is meant for 7.62 by 39. So basically the AK, the Soviet AK caliber works great in the AR-15 as long as you use an AR-15 7.62 magazine. And this works great. This is C Products. They're stainless steel for some reason, not aluminum. I don't know if there's a reason for that, a reason why they chose stainless steel versus aluminum, but all the 7.62x39 magazines seem to be stainless steel. And I highly recommend C Products for your 7.62 applications. And I have both a 28 round. For some reason, they come in 28 rounds versus 30. I think they offer a 30 now, but back when I was buying them, they only had 28 rounds. And I got a 10 rounder as well for, again, bench range applications. Put the magazine in there. It looks kind of like a hybrid between an AR-15 magazine, like so, and the AK-47 magazine, because there's so much taper on that round. That case on the 7.62 has so much more of a taper than the 5.56. There will be manufacturers out there that try to sell you a special magazine for 6.5 Grendel. And you do need something different than the standard 5.56 magazine. But you can use the 7.62x39 magazine. They're pretty much identical. There may be some slight tiny differences here or there, but I've never had a problem with 6.5 Grendel through a 7.62x39 magazine. And the reason is, if you take out the 6.5 Grendel case, you can see that it has the same kind of taper. It's also a Soviet round, or the parent case. The parent case to the 6.5 Grendel is a Soviet case. And you can see they're pretty much identical to the 7.62x39. It's not, I don't think it's based on 7.62x39 case, but it is close enough to work in these applications. Using a 22 upper or a 22 conversion kit, you can grab yourself a 22 AR-15 magazine and shoot 22 long rifle through your AR-15 lower. And now it's time to get into some of the oddball setups here. I had to buy this one magazine to work with 350 Legend. 350 Legend. I want to make a dedicated video about 350 Legend ammo. It's dumb. There's my video. 350 Legend is dumb. But I got it anyway because I'm a stickler for, having a complete collection. You have to use a special magazine to shoot 350 Legend out of your AR-15. They're very different. The rounds that you could not... I did not know this when I bought a 350 Legend upper and 350 ammo. I tried to load it into a normal magazine, either a 7.62x39 magazine or a standard 5.56 magazine. Nope. Because it's a straight wall cartridge, there's no taper to the cartridge, there's no neck on the cartridge. That means you can't stuff them into a standard 5.56 magazine because of the indentation there that is meant to keep the 5.56 ammo in line. It keeps this from stacking correctly and just jams up. You can do one at a time, maybe even two at a time and get away with it. But you're not going to stick 30 of these into a standard capacity magazine. And as far as my collection goes, last but not least, is 224 Valkyrie. Now the 224 Valkyrie case, it is based on the 6.8 special teams. I can't remember. The 6.8 cartridge. It's based on a 6.8 cartridge case, but it necks down to a 224 very fast bullet. Just like the 7.62 application, there is a special magazine meant for the 224 and the 6.8 calibers. I don't have that magazine because I've been able to get away with downloading a 5.56 for a 224 Valkyrie. Now, would you be able to get away with that with 6.8? I don't think so. I've been told I couldn't, but I don't have a 6.8 to try that out. But I download these about 15 or 20 rounds only, and it works just fine. And one last thing about AR-15 magazines. The 10-round magazines work great. The 20-round magazines, they also work fantastically well. The 30-round magazines, this was the standard capacity. This is what you're supposed to be using in an AR-15. They work great. But anytime you go above 30 rounds, you are risking to introduce a reliability issue. The 60-round magazines and the 100-round magazine options from Surefire, they're pretty cool, but they're heavy, they're expensive, and they're not as reliable as the standard 30-round magazine. Now, they're more reliable than this stupid thing I bought. I have a dual drum magazine here. This is for fun at the range. If you can find the ammo now to fill it. This is for fun at the range. This is not for any kind of situation where I need ultimate reliability. If I need ultimate reliability, I'm going with an aluminum 30-round magazine, nothing more, nothing less. If I need more ammo, I'll bring 2 of these, or 3 of these, or 7 of these. I am not going to bring 1 or 2 100-round dual drums. I'm not going to bring a Surefire magazine that holds 100 rounds. I'm going with 30-round magazines only. Well, guys, that's for me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like and go subscribe. A lot more is on the way. If you have any comments, questions, or show ideas, leave that in the comment box of the video. I try to get to as many as possible, so go ahead and drop me a line there. And as always, you guys have a great day. See ya.